When thinking of the iconic landmarks of cinema, it is almost impossible not to think of the masterpieces of Alfred Hitchcock. Rear Window, To Catch a Thief, and most notably today, Vertigo, are inseparable from the history of film. However, what many do not realize is that many of Hitchcock's greatest films, including the ones listed above, are products of a secondary genius as well, one who worked behind the scenes to produce the iconic images we know today. This man's name is Robert Burks, and his films have stood the test of time as some of the most visually inspiring and recognizable works ever created. Burks was born in Chino, California in 1909 and has been active in the film industry since the age of 19. He climbed the ranks at Warner Bros. Lab until he was finally promoted to director of photography in 1944, with his first ever credit being Jammin' the Blues, a short film about jazz musicians. Over the course of his career, he would go on to work on a total of 55 films as cinematographer. He would also go on to be nominated for 4 Academy Awards and win one. He quickly became one of Alfred Hitchcock's preferred cinematographers, working with him on 12 of his films. The film that I will be discussing today is Vertigo, which is arguably the peak of this collaboration. The first thing that audiences notice about Vertigo is its stark use of color. Now, Burks was no stranger to the use of color, lensing many of Hitchcock's color masterpieces even before Vertigo was ever released. In Vertigo, there's a notable complementary color palette at play, with reds and greens being at the forefront of it all. These colors, and their absences, give us deep insight into the minds of both Scotty and Judy. Two notably similar shots of Judy reveal the more complex motivation behind this color scheme. As seen in this shot, which is from the scene in which Scotty first encounters Judy, who is currently disguised as Madeline, takes place in a bar that is bathed in a deep red. The only other color present in the scene is the green dress that Judy's wearing. The red here symbolizes the danger that the feeling Scotty harbors for Judy creates. Meanwhile, the green represents desire. In this scene, the green is small, since Scotty has not yet fully become obsessed with the Madeline character that Judy created. But what it accomplishes here is planting a seed in the mind of the audience, which will gradually grow into disaster later in the film. Contrast this shot with this one of Judy, far after the murder of the real Madeline. The entire room is draped in a neon green, coming from the window in Judy's living room. The danger of the murder plot may have passed by now, but the desire persists all the same. In this shot, the color feels oppressive, highlighting the confliction that Judy feels between her love for Scotty and the apprehension she feels at his obsession with the false persona that she created. It also works as a window into Scotty's mind as well, showing how deep his infatuation with the Madeline character is, despite it only ever really being a construct. The only thing he sees in Judy is the way to make Madeline real again, and this takes his prior obsession to new heights. The color of the film works on the audience even when there are no reds and greens on the screen. Take this shot, for example, or really any shot of Scotty and Marge's apartment. The color here is a soft beige yellow, and it not only is consistent throughout the whole room, but even in the city seen from the window. The colors are soft as opposed to the sharp neon color of Scotty's life with Judy. This represents security and trust, something that Scotty, with his obsession with a woman that is ultimately not real, has no interest in. If Scotty had been content to stay with Marge, none of the tragedies later in the film would have happened. But Scotty was not concerned about real connection. Instead, he was fascinated by bright colors, much as the audience is, as Hitchcock and Burks lead them down a path to insanity. Another important component in understanding Burks' work on Vertigo is movement. While it may not seem to be nearly as large a factor in the film as its color, the movement plays an instrumental role in immersing us in Scotty's mind. The title of the film, Vertigo, is meant to reference Scotty's fear of heights, which plays a crucial role in the film. In perhaps the most famous shot in the film, Scotty witnesses an officer fall to his death in this scene here. This camera movement is called a dolly zoom, when the camera moves in while zooming out so that the subject stays the exact same size in the frame for the entire duration of the shot. This effect was used almost 20 years later in Steven Spielberg's Jaws to create a similar effect, which is no doubt inspired by Vertigo. This brief shot may not seem significant, but it is an integral part of a setup and payoff that is indispensable later in the film. When, towards the end, when Scotty is hauling up Judy through the bell tower stairs, revealing that he had discovered the original murder plot, a very similar shot plays when Scotty looks down the stairs to see just how far up he is. Without these shots, the audience would never truly understand just how debilitating Scotty's condition is, and therefore would never understand the betrayal he felt that finally caused him to defy it. Without these seemingly simple camera movements, the audience would never get to experience the nauseating effect of Scotty's condition, and would therefore find it harder to relate to him. There is one scene in particular that, despite seeming fairly simple, masterfully shows off the command that Burks had over his craft. This scene happens right after Scotty rescued Judy, who is currently posing as Madeline, from a staged suicide attempt, as shown here.
What am I doing here? What happened?
Well, you fell into San Francisco Bay. I tried to dry your hair as best I could. Your things are in the kitchen. They'll be dry in a few minutes. Come on over by the fire. Here, I'll give you some cushions. There you are. You'd like to have some coffee? Well, here, you better have some. Or perhaps you'd like a drink.
I fell into the bay and you fished me out.
That's right.
Thank you.
You don't remember.
No,
You remember where you were?
yes. Yes, of course I remember that. Then I must have had a dizzy spell and fainted
Where were you?
at Old Fort Point, out at the Presidio. Of course I remember. I often go there
Why? Well, why do you go there?
because I love it so. It's beautiful there, especially at sunset. Thank you for the fire.
Where were you before?
When?
This afternoon, I mean.
Wandering about.
I know, but where? Where were you just before?
Downtown shopping.
Here, you better have some coffee. I think it's still warm.
You're terribly direct in your questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be rude.
You're not. You're merely direct. And what were you doing there at Old Fort Point?
Oh, just wandering about.
Oh, you like it too?
Yes.
And where had you been just before?
I'd been to the Palace of the Legion of Honor, the art gallery.
Oh, yes. It's a lovely spot, isn't it? Never been inside, but it looks so lovely driving past.
While this scene might not contain any action, the visuals alone tell a complex story. Before, it was Judy who tended to be dressed in green, while Scotty usually wore red, representing the desire that Judy provokes in Scotty, and the danger of the plot that he gets closer and closer to discovering. Now, the roles are reversed, as Judy is beginning to become infatuated with Scotty, and now he wears the green. Judy is also now dressed in red to symbolize how close the murder plot is to completion, and the danger that her new desire for Scotty puts her in. Also, it is important to note the movement of the camera as well, as it glides smoothly along with Scotty's movements, captured masterfully on a Mitchell VistaVision camera. Meanwhile, the camera is static on Judy. This is meant to show that Scotty is opening up and showing his true self to Judy, while Judy is simply playing a role, staying boxed in the line she was told to stay in. This point is further driven home through the depth of field. Throughout most of the film, a very deep depth of field was used, likely to highlight the color scheme. But here, only the characters are in focus. This shows the audience that the characters are quickly becoming obsessed with each other, while the background becomes unimportant. This is also potent foreshadowing, as Scotty is still not aware that he is being used in his friend's plot to murder his wife, and is therefore ignorant of his surroundings. One thing that I believe Robert Burks can teach us is how important color is to a film. And perhaps no other film of his demonstrates this better than Vertigo. The brilliant colors of the film are not simply there to draw the audience's eye, but to reveal hidden depths to the characters that dialogue simply could not have replicated. The audience tends to remember images, not words, so Burks made every frame of his films unforgettable. It's this kind of subtlety that he brings to the table that elevates film from mere entertainment to high art. Also, Burke's work on this film also says something about collaboration. It's easy to give credit to Hitchcock for his masterpieces, and he was undoubtedly a genius in his craft. However, film is by nature a collaborative art, so appreciating Burke's vision allows us to see how it takes many great artists to truly create a masterpiece. At the end of the day, in spite of all his skill and all his experience,